All right, we're back broadcasting live at the Toms River Auto Group studio right here at Billy Schweim. Mike Carlin and my producer, Nikki Earnshaw. We're talking a little Flyers hockey. We covered it all today, but now we're talking about Flyers hockey. I got to tell you, my next guest, this guy's he's cool, he's entertaining, and I love watching him on TNT. He's an analyst for the NHL on TNT. We got to start this podcast. That's where he got. I guess that's where we caught on to him. Particular, which is a very, very popular podcast. Yeah. So without any further ado, let's go to the Toms River Volkswagen Sports Hotline and welcome into the locker room former NHLer and current analyst for the NHL on TNT. Let's talk to Paul Bissonnette. Good morning, Paul.
What's up?
Hey, Biz, what's happening, man?
What's up?
Yo, Biz, I Googled you today, doing some research for the show. I love your picture they have at Google. You got hit in the eye, you're bleeding out of the eyebrow. It's coming down pretty good. You look pretty mean there.
Yeah, that was Michael Rupp. I tried to fight up there on the ice when he was playing for the Minnesota Wild, and he dummied me. So I wasn't I fought because I had to survive, guys. I wasn't the toughest guy. I'm more of a lover than a fighter. So I took a lot of lickings in my day, but I tell you what, the filet mignon, the private fight, playing in the National Hockey League is worse getting my ass kicked.
Hey, Biz, so when, you played 202 games in the NHL. You had a long career, but you played in the NHL. But when you got after the game, did you have any thought about what you were going to do moving forward?
I think it kind of happened just naturally, just because, I was always a clown in the locker room, and I like to have my fun. And, as my career kind of evolved, and I went from a defenseman into that fighting role, I was changed in the Pittsburgh organization. They moved me from B to forward, put me on the fourth line. I think the writing was on the wall. So I started scrapping, made it to the league. And when I was playing in the NHL, Twitter kind of became a thing, and I hopped on. And like I said, it kind of just took on a mind of its own. And, we all have to eventually hang them up. So I think it just became a natural segue, after years of them putting the camera and mic in my face after trying to get to say stupid stuff. And, it worked out all right. And, hockey's a fun sport, and it's growing like crazy. And I'm just so very grateful to be a part of it. And, it's been a blessing.
Well, I got to tell you, Biz, you're very entertaining to watch on TNT. And, of course, our good buddy Craig Berube, the Chief, he's now on there with you, and he brings another dynamic to that set. You're also obviously on there with Gretzky sometimes, and that it's a good combination of you've got everything there: goal scorers, fighters,
Yeah, like getting Coach Berube on's been awesome because it's like a carbon copy of talk, right? They just see the game a different way and bring such a great perspective, and that's one thing I really missed about having talk around because he'll challenge the thinking on the way that certain teams were forechecking or the way that their structure was. So they're just like I'm like a sponge, and that's kind of why I was fortunate when I had Dave Tippett as a coach. He was the same way. So I've been fortunate to be around some very intelligent hockey minds like Keith and, of course, Talk before him. And that's also what's cool about TNT is, you had kind of that coach's chair and that coach's element. Then we have Hank in the seat when he's given that goalie perspective. And, Anthony Carter, he's got tons of crowdability, not only as a player, he played over 10 years in the NHL, but also as an anchor. He did MVP for 12 years. And we got Liam McHugh, who's one of the best bus drivers. So I've just been very fortunate. And of course, it goes without saying, having the greatest player of all time sitting there and hearing, when he's on, I don't even care about analyzing the game. I just want to start a campfire and listen to his full-time stories. Because he's a hockey encyclopedia. Nobody loves the game more than Gretz, man. And he can tell you stories for days about how the game's evolved. And, getting to hang out with Gordie Howe and just it's remarkable. And I pinch myself every time I get to hang out with him.
We're talking with Paul Bissonnette. He's the analyst on TNT for the NHL for TNT. And Paul, I got to tell you, I had a Gretzky story. When Tocchet lived out in L.A., I used to go out there all the time and hang out with him. And one day he says, Talk says, Schweiner, he goes, come on, you got to drive me to the bus terminal because the Kings are playing the Ducks. It was just a bus ride. So I said, all right, well, give me your keys. He's got a big SUV. I got a little rent-a-car, a little Chevette rent-a-car. And he said, Schweiner, he said, take your car. I go, what are you talking about? So we get in the car, we can drive down, and all of a sudden we get to this house with a big gate. The gate opens up, and I'm like, I automatically knew who it was. It was Gretzky's house. So Gretzky comes walking out, and I go, get the back. We're talking. And he goes, no. So Gretzky got in the back. It was a fucking seat like a Chevette. And Gretzky was sitting in the back, and you know what he was doing? He had his hand.
Isn't awesome?
Yeah, he had. No, he had his hands on the bucket. Yeah, the guy's awesome, man.
Yeah, no, he's the best, man. He just wants to have a good time and tell stories. And
a regular guy.
Oh, he's just a regular dude. There's a reason they call him the great one, man. He's the best.
Oh, it's Michael. So I'm looking at your stats and stuff like that, and I don't. You got to give someone like this the praise. You just don't make it to the NHL,
right? You got to be
by just being a tough guy or something like that. You got to be able to skate. You got to be able to play. Okay.
Right.
But back in the day, it seems like every team had what they call a tough guy on the ice. Was there a team or a guy that when you were flying in, you were like, maybe tonight I don't be as tough as I want to be because this guy's pretty tough too, kind of thing? Like, does one guy stand out in your mind from playing all those years?
Yeah, I mean, like there was a lot of them. Like I said at the start, like it wasn't who I was naturally. I did it to survive, and a lot of these guys have been doing it in junior and came up as fighters. When I was playing in junior, I would maybe get in about 3-4 fights a year. I was mostly playing, but as a defenseman who played 20 minutes and I was a bigger guy, if I was battling that front and there was enough battles throughout a night, we'd say, all right, let's go. I'm sick and tired of you. But at that level, yeah, every time I flew into a certain city, like most of the time they had guys who could, if they caught you with the right punch, they could do a lot of damage. Now, if we're going like as individuals, like Colton Orr always seemed like a very scary guy to me. He was with the Rangers and then with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Thankfully, I never actually crossed paths. I don't think we played in one game against each other. Or if we did, he didn't, he wasn't, he wasn't looking to beat me up. He was probably looking for a super heavyweight where I wouldn't have considered myself that. Derek Bugard was another guy who at the time, the boogeyman, and, God rest his soul, like he was just a very scary guy and one of the toughest to ever do it. And I mean, like I said, the list kind of goes on and on and on. I had some really good scraps in the National Hockey League, and I just really had a lot of respect for everybody. And I would say that those two guys were probably at the time the scariest on my list, at least.
Hey, Biz, it's Nick here. I got to ask you about the Flyers and what they've been able to do this season. With Danny Briere and Keith Jones taking over, from a national perspective, what are your just general thoughts on what the Flyers have been able to do and now coming down into the playoff stretch?
Yeah, you guys are in good hands. Like, Jonesy's the man. I think he's the perfect guy for that role because he just genuinely cares about, like, the franchise and the community and the fan base, and he wants to get it right back on track. I think it would be safe to say that when the new ownership came in, maybe there was a bit of a disconnect between maybe the fans, former Flyers who, the fans love the players there and they love the former players, and it's like a big family and community. So I think Jonesy being put in that seat is to really reconnect everybody, and I think he's been doing a tremendous job. As far as like the people involved, I mean, Jonesy's first class. Danny Briere, same thing. And he's such a smart hockey mind, and even some of the moves he's made so far. And I can't say enough positive things. Like, word goes around, right? Like, everybody, hockey community's small. If you ask anybody about Danny Briere, they would have nothing but positive things to say. So I'm really happy for the Flyers. Like, that's an organization who deserves it in order to reestablish that culture, and they're well on their way now. And they got a good guy in Torts there too, to kind of teach these younger guys that if you want to become a champion, you have to come outside your comfort zone. And I can also understand where, I mean, he makes your guy's job easy, I'm sure, Torts.
He gives us a lot of fodder, that's for sure.
Every week you got something to go on with this guy and how he's managing his relationships and his players and the media there. And, sometimes he might go off the rails a little bit, but I just think it speaks to his passion, and his job is to make them a winning team. And I think he takes that to heart. And whether you agree with some of his stuff from time to time. I don't really care. He puts all of his energy into it, and I respect that about him.
Biz, I got to ask you one more. Speaking of Torts, if Torts wasn't the coach this year with this Flyers team, do you think they'd be even close to playoff contention if it weren't for Torts?
I would say that most people, it's hard to say, right? Because I don't think anybody thought the same about Washington and maybe the personnel that they have with, how they're getting a little bit older with their core, and they have a lot of young players. I think that and what's the saying in Canada? Like, Torts can squeeze a nickel so tight the beaver will shake. He can get the most out of his players, and he can really push them to exceeding what maybe their expectations were, and maybe in some cases farther than what they believed in themselves. And in order to do that, you have to push guys outside their comfort zone, and he's really good at doing that. So I don't think that they're a playoff team or anywhere near close without Torts. And he has done that. He has squeezed the shit out of the beaver.
We're talking with Paul Bissonnette. He's an analyst for the NHL on TNT. And, of course, Spittin' Chicklets, his podcast. You follow him on Twitter or X at BizNasty 2.0. Biz, you talk about Tortorella. I mean, he benched Couturier just becomes the captain at 30 games into it. He benches him. They play against the Montreal Canadiens the other night, and he scratches Nick Delorier, which I thought the Flyers were getting pushed around that game. So he does uncanny things, but you also walk a fine line with that too, Biz.
Yeah,
you can lose the players,
the thing, right? That's where some fans might be like, "Yo, like it's too much." Like this is why maybe in some cases this guy has a shorter shelf life because he outstays his welcome with moves like that. But I think that here's my theory on it, and this is 3D chess. Obviously, Couturier hadn't been playing well, right? He's been struggling. My approach as a coach would have been, I would have called him in. I would have been, listen, I know you're struggling, but I'm gonna give you some good minutes tonight. We need the best out of you, and try to motivate him. Now he goes the other approach where you got to think the guys in that locker room, as much as they hated that decision, and as much as they were probably mother effing Torts at the decision, you galvanize as a group inside saying, we need to win this for Coots now. Yeah. We need to go out there and we need to win these games and help our guy out. And they did. They ended up getting 3 of the 4 points that he was out. Everybody elevated their game. And it also shows the message in the locker room that nobody's safe. If you're not going to perform up to what our standards are, you're going to be in the press box. I don't care what you've done in this league or accomplished so far. So I'm a little bit on the softer side. I wouldn't have had the cojones to pull that off. And I also wouldn't have had the cojones if I was in Nashville to cancel the team trip to the U2 concert. But here we are. Hard decisions are hard, and he had to make it. And ultimately, the reason for their success is the energy and time that Torts has put into this team. So who am I to question it?
And speaking about a team, and you did speak. I watched one of your podcasts on Spittin' Chicklets. You're talking about the Washington Capitals, how they're winning. They got 120-goal scorer. They're plus minus the differential is like minus 32. How the Capitals even close to making the playoffs?
Yeah, and since then, Ovi's kind of popped off. So now they got a few 20-goal scorers. But yeah, at the time I said it, I'm like, it was an anomaly. It didn't make any sense. They had one of the worst power plays in the league. Like their special teams was trash.
Yeah.
Darcy Kemper, who was supposed to be their starting goaltender, I would say he's played probably below average to his standards. And luckily they've had other guys step up. And I think they have one of the youngest teams in the league. If you cut the roster in half, like all their other guys are like second year guys kind of coming out of nowhere. So I would just attribute it to coaching as well. And I think from a structural standpoint, they're very committed to blocking shots. And like I said, it just feels like after the early struggles of the season, with Ovi starting to kind of accelerate in the back half, they're just running on straight mojo at this point. They're playing with the house's money because I don't think, like the Flyers, there was any expectations coming in this year. I think most people would have probably had them in the bottom 8 teams in the league.
Hey, Biz, let me ask you, do you think Ovi's going to break Gretzky's record, goal scoring record?
I think it's inevitable at this point. I would have said that. I think that he would have played till it was broken anyway. You don't play this long and accomplish that much, not to see it through. And with him accelerating in the second half of the season, there's a strong possibility if he has a big offseason of training that he could break it at the end of next year.
Guy's like, what? He's like 38. How old? He's like 36, 37 years old.
I believe that Ovi's a year younger than me. He's an 86 is my belief. So he would be 38.
38, yeah.
So he's been. So I think I want to say next year will be his 20th season because both of those guys, him and Sid, played at 18 years old. So it's just remarkable. The longevity, it makes no sense. It's diabolical, and he'll probably go down as the greatest goal scorer of all time. And
wow,
in an era where goalies have been really good. So it's a testament to him, and it's awesome for the game too. It's just another year of people following and tracking.
Yeah, but you see what? I got to be honest with you, Biz, man. I don't want him breaking Gretzky's record, man. Gretzky is hockey, man. He's how you work with him. He's hockey.
I agree with you. I think, but in the same breath, like a lot of people who might not be as invested in watching hockey will now be following the fact that, oh my God, like this player is going to break Wayne Gretzky's goal record. Like who would have ever envisioned this? So, in the same breath, yeah, it sucks that Wayne's going to get passed in that category. But as Wayne would tell you himself, records are meant to be broken. Yeah. And, hey, he still has the record for most records. So he's still got 60 of them. I don't think anyone I think it's okay if he hands one over.
All right, Biz, one last question for you. You like that rough stuff. You like that physical type of hockey. Certainly here in Philadelphia, we like it too. The Broad Street Bullies. I like the game. This guy Rempe from the Rangers. He's a different breed. He's like a throwback. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a little bit more of this.
I agree. I think there's been a revival of the heavyweight division, and I think it took a little bit of this young spunk to come in and revive it. And I think that there's definitely a place in the game for it. I think hockey would be ridiculous if the NHL ever took out fighting. I think it's an element to our game that separates us. I like where it's at, where it's not like the past, where it's just
bench clearing brawls and stuff,
and it's all scripted off the face-off.
Right.
Like Rempe is an incredible skater, and he's out there forechecking like a madman, and he can do damage if he connects with you, even just with a clean hit. Mind you, he has had a few that have been questionable, but hey, if you're running around all game, you're bound to. I think it's great for the game, and as you guys saw, the number in fights that had gone up as soon as he stepped in, and kind of that Jeremy Lin effect in New York, where all of a sudden he was on the front page of the newspaper and he was a household name, being a fourth line plug playing 4 or 5 minutes. So I'm happy for him. The kid made a name for himself, and I also think there's room for him to grow and develop his skills as well, because like I said, if he can put it all together with the speed and he has and the size, he is going to be one dangerous mofo out there skating around.
All right, Biz, listen, man, I wish we had more time with you because you're very charismatic and entertaining. We love watching you on TNT, and continued success. And don't mix it up with Chief because he's nuts.
It would never cross my mind.
All right, Biz.
Thanks for having me on, boys. We'll do it again soon.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Biz.
He's great. Biz is awesome, man. I'm telling you, very entertaining to watch on a TNT broadcast. He brings it hard. All right. For over 83 years, the Circle Liquor Store has offered the best selection of beer, wine, and spirits in South Jersey. It's a stone's throw away from Ocean City. It's a landmark with a friendly staff. It's no wonder why Circle Liquor was named Best of Philly, Best of Atlantic City, with the most competitive prices around. The Circle Liquor Store is now a proud sponsor of the second hour of the Locker Room with Billy Schweim. Throwing a party, preparing for the big game. Let Chet and his staff make sure you have everything you need. Check out the website at circleliquors.com or give them a call at 609-927-2921. That's the Circle Liquor Store in Summers Point. Tell them the Locker Room said hello. Just about everybody in our area has heard about the Jersey Man and Philly Man magazine that is run by ex-Philadelphia tight end Ken Dunnick. Were you aware of the private business network they call the Legacy Club? Every month, they hold private events at upscale locations in Philadelphia and South Jersey that attract over 200 top business people. If you have an interest in attending one of these events and see it's a fit for your business, send an email to ken@jerseymanmagazine.com or give them a call at 856-912-4007 for more information. When we return, we'll wrap it up. You're listening to The Locker Room with Billy Schweim right here on 97.3 ESPN.